Friends, I'm Naomi from EJ's Fun Crafting, and I've got another fun project for today.
Craft Lady! What did you do?
Yeah, we're doing sublimation again without a printer, and we're using Artesprix products. This time we made a special pillow. It's going to be a memory pillow for special graduate class of 2025, and it was super fun to do. It does get messy, I'll give you that warning, and we're doing a couple of different techniques. And so let me go ahead and get into that video with you, and I'll just be talking you through the steps that I took to make this. Before we get started, let me tell you what I use in this. I use Artesprix Sublimation Paints, and I use 3 different colors. So I used blue, I used purple, and I used pink, and I mixed them with some water. I'll show you that process when we get there, and I'll talk you through that, how I did that. You're gonna need 3 different popsicle sticks, or however many colors of paint you're using, you'll want that many popsicle sticks. Also know that I'm using water, but you can also maybe use glue, or if you want to use add some pouring medium. If you have pouring medium, paint pouring medium to that, you can use that. You're gonna need plain copier paper. Because I made this design kind of big, I used 8.5 by 14. I used legal size paper to cover most of the pillow because my pillow sham is 14 inches. So this is a 14-inch pillow, and so instead of using an 11-inch sheet of paper, I used 8.5 by 14 paper is what I used. I also had some HTV here that I used to create the outline, as well as filling in where it says class of, and then my tassel. So you can also do that, or you can do the whole thing with the paint pouring method that I'm going to show you. But in this case, I just chose to do the graduation cap and the 2025 with the paint pouring that I'm going to be doing. You're going to need your heat tape when you get to that part. Because I'm cutting this on my cutting machine after I use just regular copy paper, so this is regular copy paper that I used, okay? This is what it comes out, so it's similar to this when we're done. You're gonna wanna use some masks. Now, if you have leftover carrier sheets from pieces of HTV or iron-on that you've saved, you can use that. Or for this project, I use Easy Mask by Siser Easy Mask, and I got it from Heat Transfer Warehouse, and I put it on the back, so I'll show you that part also. You're gonna need that so that it holds everything in place while you're cutting, okay? So we have our HTV, our tape, our mat. You need some water. So hopefully that covers all the materials. If not, you'll see them all as we go through. I am cutting on my Siser Juliet. You can also use your Cricut machine or your Silhouette machine, your brother scan and cut machine, whatever it takes, the SVG. This SVG is on my website. Right now it's free. I'll probably have to up the price in a bit. So anyway, you can go ahead and go to my website, ejsfuncrafting.com, to get a copy of the SVG. All right, all my materials that I use will be in the description. They are affiliate links, and so if you make a purchase after clicking my link, I get a small commission at no extra cost to you. Okay, for real this time, let's get into this project. So I'm going to start by grabbing some parchment paper just to lay out underneath my project, since we're going to be pouring some paint. It doesn't really catch a lot of my paint because of the way I'm doing this, but it's okay. Then I'm going to grab my plain copy paper. I am using 8.5 by 14, which is legal size. I'll be using my Artesprix paints, sublimation paints. I'm using 3 colors. And then I'm going to line up my cups. I have some disposable medicine cups here. So I have my blue. I'm going to squirt just a little bit of each color into each cup, of one color into each cup. So I have my blue. Here's my pink. I'm just going to shake it up a little bit, squirt it into the cup. And then the last cup, I'm going to put some purple in there. So those are my 3 colors, blue, pink, and purple, I'm going to be working with, okay? After I have all of my colors in my cup, and you can see I'm not using a lot of paint at all. It's better just to start with a little bit, and if you need more, you can add some more. Then I'm going to go in and grab some water. I just have some regular water here. I need 1 popsicle stick for each color that I'm using. So I need 3 different popsicle sticks. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of water into each one of the cups, okay? This is going to help it to run. It looks like I put a little bit too much in the purple. But after you put your water in, just go ahead and stir it up so that your paint becomes kind of runny, but you don't want it to be super runny. I would prefer the consistency if I had used paint pouring medium instead, but this is fine because this is using what I have on hand immediately and what most people already have. Had a little accident there, but that's okay because it's a messy project. Remember I told you it was going to get messy. So there's my blue, my pink, and then I'm going to use one more to stir my purple. Yeah, that looks really runny. So I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit more purple in there before I pour, because it does look like it could use a little bit more. You see how runny that was? So I'm just going to squirt a little bit more purple paint into here. By the way, this is kind of like paint pouring, just a little bit of a difference, just a little bit of an adaptation for what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and start pouring. Again, I learned this from my sister, Jo Marie and me, Art. Joanna has been pouring paint for a really long time, and she's got all these different techniques. This is one of the basic techniques. And so I said, let's try this for my background. So in effect, what we're doing is making our own print papers, sublimation print papers, pattern papers to use. So this particular pour has no reason, there's no specific way to do it. I'm just going to lay down each color. Now you can see I didn't have a lot of paint. Usually I would have done this with much more paint, just so that I can cover my surface a little bit more. But I'm not really worried about covering it in order to make swirls or anything. I just wanted to make some abstract design. So I'll do that, and then I'll go ahead and stir up my pink and then pour my pink onto my paper. If you notice, again, I'm pouring directly onto my paper. I'm going to pour directly onto my paper, but when we finish, we're going to have more than one paper, and I'll show you how we do that in a second. So let's go ahead and pour. You see that purple is a little bit more runny. I'm going to save my pink till last, because my pink's my lightest color. I didn't want it to get drowned or covered by the other darker colors. So these are going to mix together, start making some kind of um, some kind of effects here, but not a lot, because I don't have anything, um, any pouring medium, like I said, in there to help them blend together even more. But here we go. You just move your paper around. If you wanted to cover the entire page, just add more paper, add more paint. I'm sorry, to your paper, and maybe add some pouring medium instead of the water, or no, I would just add the pouring medium. Okay, so let's let this drain off a little bit more. You see how it's coming to the sides, and then I'm just going to bring it up a little bit more, and then I'm going to fill in the pink on a lot of the blank white parts. I'm just going to put a little bit on each of the blank parts, and then I'm going to swirl that around and mix it. You can use your popsicle stick to add swirls if you wanted to, whatever you want to do. But like I said, for this, it's just a quick and simple project. But because I'm making this project for a fellow artist, um, I thought that it would be good to have something that was just like chaotic, some chaotic art going on. So just play with your paper some more. Make it drain. Sorry for being out of frame there a little bit. I was, at this point, I'm just letting the paint run down a little bit more. And then when you think you got it like you want it, you can just lay it down flat onto your surface, onto your table. And all of this does clean up very easily with water. I just can use a water and a paper towel to clean it up. Okay, so just put it down flat. And now what we're gonna do, this is not the part this is not the end of this process. I'm gonna grab another sheet of plain paper again, plain copy paper, again, 8.5 by 14, and I'm gonna do what's called a dip. I'm just gonna kind of taco roll it and set it down in the middle. And then I'm gonna kind of go from the middle out on each side. I got paint on myself, but that's okay. You just want to be careful when you sublimate, because you will get this paint on whatever else. So just be careful when you get ready to sublimate. A little messy, but that's okay. Then I'm gonna peel it up. So now that I swiped it, right? I dipped it, I swiped it, and I'm gonna peel it. You can peel from the side, you can peel from a corner. It doesn't matter. Um, if you have a lot of paint on there, you get a different effect. So I'm just gonna try from this corner and peel it off. Bam. So it changed it, and it looks messy and it looks like nothing right now, but we're gonna leave this. I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and when we come back, we'll be able to work with it. Look at this, guys. This is what it looks like after it's dried overnight. These are pretty cool. So I have all three of these are pages that I could use for my sublimation print. Now I'm going to get some mask. I'm using some Easy Mask by Siser. I got from Heat Transfer Warehouse. I'm going to flip over my painting. I'm going to put my Easy Mask on the back part of my print, just whichever one I'm going to use, okay? So the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to cut this just like I would HTV, so I need to make sure I have something to hold it together. It did extend over the side, so I'm just going to use scissors to trim it up so that it is even with my paper there, and I don't have any extra sticky mask hanging on. Let's go ahead and put this on our mat. I'm using my Cricut 12 by 24 inch mat because this paper is longer than 12 inches. You're going to put it with the shiny side down, so the matte side down with your pattern side up, just like you would if you were using an infusible ink sheet. I use my brayer to make sure it's down on there well. You can probably use a regular standard grip mat, but I did use my well-used heavy grip mat. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut on my Siser. I use my settings for my Siser Easy Weed HTV, and it worked out just fine. Now we're going to do like a weeding. So this is why we used our easy mask, or you can use an extra carrier sheet if you had one. And what I'm going to do is just take up the parts that I'm not that got cut that I'm not going to be using. So I'm going to leave behind the design. This design, by the way, is on my website. You can find it at ejsfuncrafting.com. It's a free design right now. So I'm just going to pull this up. It's just a weeding process. I'm going to go through here carefully. If you have any pieces that kind of didn't cut well for whatever reason, that's okay. You just come back and add little pieces however you need to. You're going to save the rest of that printed paper because you can use that for other projects. And look at this. We're ready to go. So now I'm just going to grab my scissors and trim this up because I'm going to need to put these on separately. I'm just going to carefully peel it up. You see how easily that came up because it is stuck to the mask. So with my scissors, I'm just going to trim around the 2025, and then I'm going to cut out the graduation cap because again, I'm going to put those separately. And it's just like when you're trimming up your HTV or your vinyl, your regular vinyl whenever you cut vinyl, okay? Now, if you are using this SVG that I have, you'll also cut out some HTV. So the regular HTV you're cutting is a class of, and then the tassel. See those? I cut them on the same sheet, and I cut them together. Then you'll just go in weeding them with your weeding tool, leave just getting out all the extra vinyl that was cut there and just leaving behind the design itself. After you're finished with that, you're going to go ahead and weed the bigger piece, okay? So we have a bigger piece. It's coming up here in just a second. I just needed to make sure I got out all the little pieces from that. And then I'm going to trim that up around there. And then this is a big piece. Has the outlines on it. So I use navy blue because I was using blue in my pattern. I just wanted something darker as an outline. This is going to act as my outline. This is also included in the SVG that I'm giving away to go along with this tutorial. So you just make sure you weed everything out. This one is you just got to be careful because the outline is really thin. So make sure you're weeding the correct pieces when you get ready to do this. All right, it's time to get our blank together. We are using our Artesprix Pillow Sham. This is a sublimation blank and it's 14 by 14. It's available right now. This is May to the 2025, and it's available as the blank of the month right now. So the outline that we just cut, we're going to lay it out to make sure that it fits correctly. I'm going to go ahead and use my lint roller to take off any debris there. And then I'm going to do this. Underneath the outline, I'm going to lay down my graduation cap piece to make sure it fits within the outline. But remember, it's going to go down first. So I'm laying down that cutout sublimation paper that we made with the graduation cap. We're lining it up on the outline. You see that? And then we're going to put it down exactly where it is. And then we're going to fold back some of the carrier sheet or the mask that we use so that we can tape down our print. I'm using sublimation heat tape. This one is also from Artesprix. You can use any sublimation tape you have. I do like my Artesprix heat tape, and I'm just going to tape this around to make sure it stays in place. I'm going to do the exact same thing for the 2025 when I get there. Again, I'm just going to fold up the bottom. You see that? Here it comes. I'm going to fold it up, and then I'm going to line up the 2025. And I'll show you a trick that I had to do here. Some of my first two got cut off, so I just grabbed some of the extra excess that I had to fix it. Now I'm going to make my sublimation sandwich. I'm going to cut a piece of protective paper, enough to cover the inside of my pillow, well, the whole pillow sham, okay? This first piece is going inside of my pillow sham. It's going to go all the way, so it's going to go underneath both of the back flaps so that it goes all the way to cover the whole front, okay? That's going to catch any excess ink that may get transferred when I'm doing my heat press. So you put that sublimation, that protective paper inside of the pillow. If you put it on the outside, the ink can still come through, right? So that's why we're going to put it inside of the pillow. I'm going to smooth that out. And then the next thing I'm going to do is use my pressing pillow. I have pressing pillow that I made myself. You can buy these online though. And I'm going to put it underneath both sides as well so that I avoid that seam right there, that double seam when I get ready to press. I want everything to be as even as possible on the top. You see that? I want everything as even as possible on the top. Okay, now that this is ready to go, I'm going to cover it with a sheet of protective paper, and then I just want to make sure everything's lined up, making sure that my pressing pillow is covering the whole design. Another piece of protective paper to go on top. This part is going to protect my heat press when I take it over to press. All right, we're at the heat press. Here we go. I grabbed another pressing pillow to put on the edge because it didn't quite cover all the way to my last five, and I want to make sure everything's even. There goes my protective paper. It goes on top. My heat press is set for 385 degrees, and I'm going to press for 60 seconds. Okay, so we've got our sublimation sandwich going. We're pressing for 60 seconds. We're going to wait for that to get done, and here we go. Before I take it off of the press completely, I'm going to just lift up a corner. It did transfer correctly, and we are ready to go. If it didn't transfer, I would just put it back down. Do it just press a little bit longer. What I'm doing now, I'm lowering my heat because I need to press my HTV next. It requires less heat, so I'm going to put it at about 310 degrees, and I'm only going to raise it for about 10 to 15 seconds, okay? But that way it's ready to go, but I need it to cool down before I press my HTV. That's another hint. Whenever you're doing two things, you want to make sure you press, if at all possible, the thing that has the highest temperature first. Okay, so while that's cooling down, let's peel. This came out so pretty. Look at that design. Let's finish this design off, guys. Let's go ahead and grab our outline piece that we did, the one that's navy blue or black, the darker one, and we're going to go ahead and lay that down first. We're going to line it up on, now this time we're lining that up on top of the sublimation print that we already did. Okay, you might need to kind of shift things around a little bit, and then I like to use tape to hold it in place because if not, it does tend to shift a little bit, and I want it to be as lined up as possible. I'm going to end up with a little bit of an offset still, but that's okay. It's just a little bit. But the heat tape does help. This is also heat tape. It's a different kind, but you want to use heat tape if you're afraid of anything shifting out of place. Then we're going to press that for, again, like I said, we're only going to press that for about 2 seconds to tack it down. With my Siser Easy Weave, that's all I need. If your seams are in the way, like mine were at first, you may need to repress it for a little while. I noticed as I was pulling up that some of it was coming up, and that's exactly where that seam is. I had taken out my pressing pillow, so you can leave your pressing pillow in. That'll probably help, but if not, just go ahead and put it back in for just a little while. You don't want to press it for the full amount of time yet because we still need to put some other pieces on. Once it's ready though, go ahead and peel it off carefully and slowly. If you have anything that moves out of place, just kind of put it back with your finger if you can. Then we're going to go ahead and lay in the other two pieces. It's kind of like an inlay. So the class of goes inside of that offset that we created. Line that up as best as you can. Make sure that your carrier sheet is not overlapping on where you're going to put the tassel. It's okay if it overlaps anything else, but where the tassel needs to go, you don't want it overlapping because you're going to press that. That way you can go ahead and put them on at the same time. If it did overlap, you can either trim it or you can just do 2 presses. But I prefer to do the least amount of presses as possible. So once that's on, if you need to tape it, go ahead. If not, go ahead and cover it with a piece of protective paper again, because your sublimation print is exposed. Then this time we're going to press it for the full time. 310 degrees. I'm going to go for about 10 to 15 seconds, usually about 12 seconds. When it's ready, go ahead and reveal your project. This is the fun part, guys. We made it to the end of this project. I'm just going to go ahead and peel off my carrier sheet from my HTV, or my heat transfer vinyl, also known as iron-on. Peel that off of the class of and over the tassel. You can do this in any colors you want. You can mix and match. You can do this whole design if you wanted to in HTV. You can do the whole design if you wanted to in sublimation print. But just have fun, because there is no wrong way to craft. Look how pretty this came out. Thanks for joining me. Please like and follow if you like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.